Starting off the front row, out of grid position, number 1, the fast man out of the 69A, Corbin Anderson. Starting next to him after a great night's racing, after a couple of podiums, Devin George in the 22A starts out at 2. James Earl, after taking out the victory in the first heat race in the 22M, starts out at 3. Bo Patchett for BSL Racing in the 37M, starting out at 4. Troy Jeffries, the teammate of Bo Patchett in the 25M, starts out at 5, with Bryn Jackson in the 86M out of 6. Dustin Matthews in the 8K starts out of 7, with Jared Robinson in the 18M out of 8. Bruce James for HLR Racing in the 17A starts out at 9, with CJ Wilson in the 78M out of 10. Tyler Brown in the 96M starting out of 11, with Michael Stock in the 81M starting out of 12. And off the back row out of 13, Gavin Thomas in the 10M and Blake Ellison out of 14.
Yeah, 15 laps the distance of this one, Alistair, and we've got some stars starting at the front of this one. As you mentioned, the cream really rises, and in this, with the front 2 rows, those are your 4 best drivers.
That's exactly right, and certainly with the Honda power off the inside of the first 2 rows, and then you've got a couple of Slinger F2 power plants out of 4 and 5, and probably the lone wolf with the little Toyota off the front row. He's doing a fantastic job here tonight. Devin George, super impressed with how he's been progressing tonight.
Yeah, and he made those passes look easy in that second heat race as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how he goes starting up the front and starting next to Corbin as well. We've all seen how fast Corbin Anderson is over the years, but one we can't forget is James Earl starting out of grid number 3 there as James means business. He's got several feature wins under his belt so far this year, travelling to all sorts of tracks over the North Island, so trying to put a Western Springs feature win under his belt for this weekend.
Yeah, it's exactly right, and certainly a couple of drivers a little bit further back regarding some of the drivers that have had challenging nights. Bruce James getting caught up in 2 different incidents in the heat race number 2, and a driver with probably one of the most certainly one of the best presented F2s out there of Tyler Brown starting out of position number 11 as the lights are out and we get set to turn them loose for only 15 lap distance here at Lucas Oil Western Springs Speedway. Who's your pick here for this one, Hayden?
I think Corbin Anderson's going to be hard to beat off the front row, otherwise James Earl out of 3.
There you have it, the call from the professional. 69A gets off to an early jump and goes with him, does James Earl. Already up into the second spot, but jumps through that rut on the entry of turn number 1 and almost loses that spot back out to Devin George. So George slips back into 3rd. Bo Patchett 4th, doing a great job there, as does his teammate Troy Jeffries there in 5th.
Yeah, someone making moves further back is Bruce James, wasting no time after that unfortunate second heat race. Starting to work through, looking at that outside lane. Otherwise, just single file up the front at the moment as these guys get to grips of the racetrack.
Yeah, certainly, and James Earl doesn't want to throw any big haymakers at us. We've got one around down here at turn number 3, and it's the number 10 of Gavin Thomas comes to a standstill. So there we have it. The yellow comes out, and perfect opportunity for that of James Earl. Now moving 1 row closer to his biggest competitor, the Garrett Turbochargers, number 69, Corbin Anderson.
Interesting to see the different lane choice in the early stages of this one. So Corbin Anderson starting to enter in the middle of the racetrack and turn down out of turn number 4, and he just carries so much more straight line speed than James Earl. So obviously a long way to go in this one, and James Earl will be kind of adding that information into his head every single lap, just making slight changes to his approach, and it's going to be a good battle out of these two.
There you go. So 2 Honda power plants off the front row, 1 F Series, 1 K Series, but both running with 2-litre power under the hood here with the F2 category rules and regulations. So certainly different characteristics. Obviously both VTEC Honda power plants, but certainly making their power in slightly different places on the racetrack.
Everyone looked at a relatively similar speed in the early stage of that one as well. Devin George didn't look out of place at all off the inside of the second row there as well. Bo Patchett just holding his place there. Troy Jeffries in tow as well. No real changes as of right now, except for James Earl making that slight move to the front row and Devin George moving back to 3rd. So we're going to go around probably one more time here, and then we're going to be lights out here at Western Springs and under the control of Corbin Anderson.
That's exactly right, and I think one common denominator here, Hayden, is the fact that both those drivers at the front have experience in faster, higher horsepower cars, whether it be midgets or sprint cars. Corbin Anderson have been doing some double duties last year and this year in both A-grade and sprint cars, and also James Earl stepping back from the A-grade midgets into F2. So we are set to run here with only a couple of laps run It's James Earl and Corbin Anderson. We wait for them to go past the CRC cone. Corbin Anderson, the pace setter, he's got full control and he goes early. James Earl slots it behind him. A big slingshot from James Earl. He's going to try and get the run up the inside of Corbin Anderson. Runs straight through the run and they make contact. And James Earl goes around on the inside. And that's going to bring out the yellow. And poor old Bruce James getting caught up in that as well.
Unfortunate situation there as well, as James Earl just really trying to force the issue down there in turn number 1 and 2. We do have a replay as well, so direct your eyes to the big screen as we can see Anderson left half a gap and James Earl thought that he could fit in there. Unfortunately, that gap closed pretty quickly, Alistair.
Yeah, and I tell you what, credit where credit's due. We made mention of it a little bit earlier tonight with regards to the quality of driving in the F2 field as far as the drivers managing to not just drive straight into the accident. Certainly great to see the experience and quality of these drivers improving as time goes on.
Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't look like James Earl is going to restart in this one as well, as it looks like the steering arm has been broken on the front end and those front wheels are not facing in the same direction. So extremely disappointing not to be able to see a Corbin Anderson versus James Earl battle, but someone who's going to step up and take that place is going to be Devin George.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and lurking in the background as well. Just quickly while we've got time, sorry to interrupt there, but Callum Williams, can we get to the pit gate, please? Callum Williams to the pit gate. If we can have Callum get down there ASAP, please, it'd be much appreciated. So just what I was going to touch on there, Hayden, as well, was two of your ex-teammates, but in the F2 realms of things, it's both Bo Padgett and Troy Jeffries now find themselves lining up for this one on the second row. Yeah,
it did look like Bo was trying to take advantage of the inside of Devin George as well, as he got really close to inheriting that third spot just before James Earl made that mistake down there in turn number 1 and 2. So two Esslinger power plants starting on the second row there. So we've got quite a few different engine combinations, as you touched on earlier here, also different chassis as well. So Bo Padgett and Troy Jeffries running the same chassis as drivers such as Campbell Stewart in the midget class. So that Terra chassis out of the BSL Racing stables, built in-house, built in New Zealand. So keep an eye on that second row to see what those guys can do. But Corbin Anderson is going to maintain control of this one.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And all with the limiting restriction there of the air restriction through the inlet, all the cars having to have the same size air restrictor. So regardless of the modifications which you can and can't do, they all have the same intake trumpets there. So just restricting the airflow through. So that is the thing that bring these cars closer in line with one another. So Bruce James actually managing to move up, and he's found himself in the 6th position. It was not looking so good for him there. He almost got caught up in that incident with James Earl. So unfortunately there for Jimmy, his night is over as he gets the RNS Automotive number 22. So just quickly, Callum Williams, and can we get you back down to the gate where you were interviewed previously, mate? Australian Callum Williams, can we get you back down to the pit gate where Graham interviewed you earlier, please?
It does look like the order is set now, as we've got the 22 of James Earl off the racetrack. A couple gaps throughout the field there, as well as Bruce James, as you mentioned, a good charge right now as he's gone +3 and into the 6th position. Bo Padgett's going to be looking to see what he can do off the restart here, as he is the race leader starting in front of him. So remember, as soon as Corbin Anderson goes, the race is on and the lights will go green. So he goes anywhere down in between these two CRC cans on the inside of turn number 3 and 4.
That's exactly right. So Corbin Anderson has full control on the inside there in the 69A. Devin George, his lucky night as a driver, his teammates in the second row already banging wheels into each other. So we'll keep an eye on that one as that situation prevails, but it looks like Bo Padgett's actually got a better jump. Devin George tries to hang on to it, tries to get up the inside of the 69 of Corbin Anderson, but can't, and they're jumping all around the place as they navigate through the ruts coming out of turn number 2.
Oh, an aggressive chop too from Devin George, saying that he's going to hold on to that second spot as the two Terras battle nose to tail out of turn number 4, but they're going to go in and Corbin Anderson's going to lead another one in this one. As we're barely 2 laps into this one here, it's Devin George just continuing to apply the pressure to the back of Corbin Anderson, just not pulling away the way we thought he would.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and credit where credit's due. Devin George is doing a great job, certainly with a little bit less power than the cars surrounding him at this point in time, and certainly with the track conditions and lending it in the favour of potentially not having as much horsepower, and he's doing a great job to just stay smooth and fast down on that pole line.
We see the character and the racetrack actually starting to play a part in this one as well. As we've got several different lane choices down out of turn number 2, as that hole on the bottom is starting to cause some issues further back, but not a problem for Corbin Anderson as he maintains about a 4 car length lead over Devon George, and then the front 2 are pulling away from Bo Patchett.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the first 2 are just navigating their way through, as you mentioned, Hayden, through turns 1 and 2, a whole lot smoother and almost straddling the cars over the top of those middle of the ruts. So they're just a whole lot smoother, getting up to speed. And we've got one around, and it's the number 10 again down at turn number 2. So Gavin Thomas having a tough time. Previous couple of laps ago, had a little bit of a moment coming out of Penrite turn number 4 as well. So we'll wait and see if we manage to get a restart for that car. I wouldn't think so, given he was the prime cause of that incident. But once again, Devon George and Corbin Anderson putting on an absolute show here tonight.
Yeah, Troy Jeffries was applying a lot of pressure to the back bumper of Bo Patchett as well down here in turn number 3 and 4. It just looks like Bo is running just such a narrow line that he can't really open up and get any momentum going, as Troy seems to be running kind of half a car width wider. So another restart, not long to go in this one. We're about halfway home, maybe just under halfway home, and Devon George is going to be wanting to hold on to the back bumper of Corbin Anderson to make a move for the lead.
Yeah, and certainly for the experience of Corbin Anderson, Devon George just being able to watch and see where Corbin Anderson's positioning that car is certainly helping him. And in any form of motorsport, as we all know, that it's one thing getting to the back of the car in front, it's a whole other thing trying to get by them, especially when you're vying for the same piece of dirt on the track.
And when it's so technical like it is, we've got those holes that you can run several ways through them, but if you hit it the wrong way, it will ruin your run, as the front row once again making contact as well. Corbin Anderson's going to lead this one away, and he goes nice and early. Devon George is going to go with him. Bo Patchett once again looking to the inside, but he's not going to be able to get it done into 1 again, as Devon George looking for the lead into turn 1.
Yeah, that was kind of a sort of indirect slider, you could say, that he was trying to block that pass from Bo Patchett, but ended up forcing himself through that rougher part of the racetrack. So he's having to go a little bit conservative, and now he's just giving himself a little bit more breathing space as the 2 teammates go at it for 3rd and 4th.
Bruce James all over the back of Bo Patchett as well, as he's moved forward from the 9th position right now. Troy Jeffries going to inherit the 3rd position, as it looks like just a cover has come loose. It looks very different from our lights there, Alistair. But Corbin Anderson pulling a massive lead over Devon George, just showing his experience through the holes at this stage.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And certainly the front 3 cars have got a little bit of breathing space between them, whereas you go a little bit further back, Bo Patchett having to be a little bit defensive because he's got Bruce James and Matthews, and they hook up, and just as we say that, coming out onto Salton straightaway, both those cars link up, and unfortunately it looks like Bo Patchett's going to retire as Bruce James tries to get back onto the racetrack as soon as possible, with only 6 more laps left to go for our leader.
Extremely lucky of Bruce James not to have a bigger accident than what he did just then, as that was a wild moment there. But your front 3 looks like it's pretty well set, with a large gap back to Josh Matthews there in 4th. Corbin Anderson is leading away Devon George, and Troy Jeffries there in 3rd. Brad Jackson doing a good job there in the top 5 as well.
That's right, and it just looks like Devon George is trying to replicate that line of Corbin Anderson down at 1 and 2, as is Troy Jeffries. So they're trying to replicate that, but at Corbin Anderson's speed, he's just got a little bit more of a buffer on his competitors at this point in time, setting the fastest lap of the race, once again by 5/10 of a second.
Starting to bridge that lead a little bit more as Bruce James running around the back of the field. Big shame for him, a shame for Bo Patchett as well, who was having a great run in the BSL number 37, but no question about your leader with only a few laps to go in this one. He's got over a straightaway advantage. Just smooth, consistent laps. They might not be the fastest laps, but very limited mistakes out of the 69.
That's exactly right, and the experience of himself is just showing why he is a force to be reckoned with in this category, winning numerous features here at Luxor Western Springs Speedway and as well throughout the country. So still this man on screen at the moment with daylight between himself and the 22 of George. Still Troy Jeffries running in that 3rd position, and Matthews now starting to close a little bit as well, but the white flag's out for this man, the Garrett Turbochargers all-tech diesel number 69, with only a couple of turns left to go. Corbin Anderson is going to bring this thing home.
Yeah, no question about your leader as he comes into turn number 3, unchallenged from behind, not into lap traffic just yet. He's going to take the win away from his sister car of Devon George, and Troy Jeffries there in 3rd, Josh Matthews in 4th, and Brad Jackson with a great drive and knocked his own car there in 5th as well. Exceptional to see Brad Jackson doing such a good job there.
So there you have it, the official results with almost identical lap times for that of Anderson and George, but the kudos and top step of the podium tonight goes to that of Corbin Anderson.
Corbin, that was a pretty good drive. Sort of led from start to finish, but you got the track organised, you found the holes, you found all the right place to run on it.
Yeah, it's definitely, there's a couple of good spots on the track, so it's a huge credit to the track guys. It was real nice to run on. Yeah, just massive thanks to the crew, everyone who came out to watch, everyone who's here tonight supporting Western Springs. It's massive for all of us competitors, so big thank you. Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing, so yeah.
That's pretty good. What are you going to tell your bosses at work at Lifetime, Pete and Tina? What are you going to tell them now that what are you doing on Saturday night? They probably thought you went home and did accounting stuff.
Yeah, probably. You know, if I'm late to work on Monday, you won't tell them, I'm sure, so yeah.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, Corbin Anderson, winner of the F2 Midget Feature. Now, just before you give them a round of applause, the F2s are slightly different from a Midget. What size? They've got a 2-litre capacity engine, is that right?
Yeah, so 2-litre engines. They're restricted as well, so there's air restrictors in the intake. A few other little bits and pieces that are different from a Midget, so no adjustable shocks in cockpit. Yeah, a few other little things, but apart from that, it's pretty similar.
Yeah, so they're really just, for want of a better term, a lower budget entry level into midget car racing. If you like it, then you go up to the big deal. So again, well done.
Thank you. Cheers.